We have just witnessed a terrible massacre by two Islamic terrorists against the Jewish community in Sydney at Bondi Beach. The Jewish community was celebrating Hanukkah, and then suddenly, out of nowhere, gunshots, and I think we're up to like 16 people who died so far, and about 30 wounded. A terrible massacre. Me and my family, we used to live in Norway, but we moved to Cyprus during the war to serve Jewish people. And the big Jewish Israeli community here in Larnaca, Cyprus, also had a plot threat against them that was stopped. And there were people of Iranian background that were stopped, and the plot was hindered. The question I want to ask today is that when you have such incidents, both in Australia and in many other Western countries, Europe, in the United States, what will be the consequences? And why is this happening? It seems clear that many of the terrorist attacks that have happened against Jews around the world have been committed by people with Islamic jihadi background. And also in Sydney, they found ISIS flags in a car and bombs nearby. And the two gunmen is now being connected to Iran by intelligence, we hear. But still we see a Jewish community in Australia, they say that they don't feel safe. And this is the same that I see in my country, Norway, as well. A Jewish community in our capital city, Oslo, where the kindergarten, the school, the synagogue is guarded by people with guns. Small children can't gather together without being protected by military personnel. Exactly what the Jewish communities are saying is that it's not only a threat from people with a jihadi background that have come as immigrants to our countries, but this is also about the failure of the governments to protect the Jewish minority. And about the anti-Semitism that is being driven forward by media, in politics, and in society as a whole. And that this provides a climate where these things can accelerate and happen more. And as a result, the Jewish communities feel less and less safe. Because we have seen Western governments push Israel on the Gaza situation. They recognize Palestine as a state that is no state at all. Governments who attack Israel again and again in public, who fail to condemn the Islamic terror when it happens, and doesn't offer condolences to Israel when people are being killed. One of the questions I ask myself is, why has it become like this in Western democracies? Is it only because the political parties want the vote from the big Muslim immigrant population? Because that has been a big problem in later years. Or could it also be that this is something that has been there for a longer time, that is a problem that is coming to the surface now even more? And I think we honestly have to admit that we have had this problem for a longer time. If we look to the UN history of resolutions in the UN, we have had countless years with an abnormally high percentage of resolutions passed against Israel, backed by many Western countries. The problems in the UN goes far beyond the immigration statistics, and it started earlier than the big waves that came from different Muslim areas in the Middle East. And so I think we have to be honest and say we have a problem with anti-Semitism in our nations in the West. And so when you have a Jewish population that feel that their own government is not for them, but rather against them, and fail to protect them, and fail to speak about anti-Semitism. And at the same time, there's a growing number of terror attacks, and Israeli people are afraid even to speak Hebrew on the street, afraid to show a flag or a Hanukkah in the window, or to bring their kids to school. Then surely we can ask the question, what will the consequence be? And I think that the consequence of what's happening now will be a mass exodus of Jewish people from Western democracies, and a great Aliyah to Israel with many, many Jewish people. Then in the Jewish community, there's always these two different perspectives. Some see this as a wake-up call that they actually need to pack their bags and go and make Aliyah to Israel. And this is also according to the prophecies in the Bible, that God would gather his people back to the land. We've already seen it, but there are millions of Jews still out there in the nations. The other group of Jews see this as a trial and a very tough test, but they want to stand and not be afraid and keep their communities in these countries in Europe and the US. We can only pray to God that he will lead them and give them wisdom in what to do at this time. But one thing is clear, for those of us who are Gentiles, our moral duty is to speak up, to love the Jewish people, to protect them, to cherish them, and to treat them with the same love that God has for them. Let's pray for the Jews and try to be there for them if you have somebody close to you. Tomorrow, our family has been invited to the Hanukkah celebration here in Larnaca by the Jewish rabbi of Cyprus. To show up in places like this is a great way to show that you care.